Hello board game brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode where I'll be letting you know if Kickstarter is launching this week. I do this every week, going into detail of all the games launching on Kickstarter and GameFound, so if you want to stay up to date, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And we are getting near the end of the month, so if you want a little head start of the games to come, definitely check out Alex's channel over at BoardGame Co. because he goes over all the games launching in the next 30 days. He also puts out a ton of other really helpful and info-dense content that'll help you make decisions on the games you want to back, so definitely check out his channel if you haven't already, and give him a subscribe. If you missed it, I also put out a special video a couple days ago covering all the games in my collection. This was a video I promised I'd put out once we hit 4,000 subscribers. If you want to see all the games in my collection and the approach I take when deciding whether or not to keep a game, definitely check that one out. I'll leave a link to that somewhere up here. And with all that out of the way, let's check out the Kickstarters. And the first campaign we have launches on July 26th, and it's called Synchronized. And this plays 4 to 8 players and takes about 20 to 30 minutes to play. And this is a memory-based card game where players are going to be trying to compete to perform the best routine. The game plays over 4 rounds, and there's 3 phases each round: the rehearsal, the competition, and the performance. In the rehearsal phase, both teams are going to lay out a routine that they're going to perform, and they're going to try to remember the sequence of the cards and then flip them face down. For the competition phase, players are going to have a second deck that's identical to the deck that they used to create their routine, and then players are going to be placing those cards face down, trying to match the routine that they had set out. And on the perform phase, players are going to flip and compare all their cards, and they're going to get a point for each set of cards that they were able to match. At the end of each round, a challenge card is added, which modifies the rules and changes your overall strategies. And 1 additional routine pose is going to be required in your next routine, which makes the game harder with each passing round. Also on the 26th, we have Lots Filled In, and this plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 20 to 30 minutes to play. And although this does share the name with their previous game, Lots, this is actually a standalone game that plays very differently than their original. This still shares a theme with that original game, which was all about building a skyscraper, but rather than being a 3D polyomino stacking game like the original, this one is going to be a roll and write. And in this roll and write, players will be penciling in different shaped and colored blocks to fill in floors on a tower. There's 4 different ways to score points in this game. You get a point for each unique color used on each floor that you complete. You also get a point for being the first to reach a new floor level, and you get a point for filling in certain boxes with a proper color. And points also go to the player with the largest connected area for each color at the end of the game. Each round, all the dice are going to get rolled, and then each player is going to snake draft a die, which means that whoever is first is going to draw the first die, and then it's going to go around to everyone else and then back, so that the first person who drafted a die is also the last person. Once each person has 2 dice, they're going to choose 1 for the shape and 1 for the color, and then they're going to color in those spaces on their sheet. Once a player cannot legally place a block that they've crafted, the game ends and the player with the most points wins. And now on July 27th, we have Get to the Choppa, and this plays 1 player and takes about 30 to 60 minutes to play. And in this game, you're going to be controlling a squad of special ops soldiers. You're going to have a few tools and weapons at your disposal, but the main thing is to survive, and you're going to be fighting your way through an unknown and hostile jungle. This game touches on all the different movie tropes, and each zone can have very different hostile forces. You could be going up against alien hunters, zombies, dinosaurs, or many other threats. And essentially, you're going to be scavenging for items and then either engaging or trying to avoid combat. Each turn, you're going to roll 9 dice and then keep or re-roll any amount of those dice up to 3 total rolls. You're going to have to be careful because some dice can cause enemy contact, but most of them you're going to be able to assign to perform different actions to your squad. Actions can be things like salvaging supplies and ammo, marching towards the next checkpoint, moving stealthily to avoid detection from an enemy contact, and each turn brings you a little closer to the next checkpoint where you'll be able to rest, restock, and heal up. The game ends by reaching the 4th zone's checkpoint, and if you have enough of your squad left, then you have successfully got to the Choppa. And next we have Divinus, and this plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 45 to 60 minutes to play. And this is a competitive legacy tile laying digital hybrid game. And in this game, players are going to be demigods seeking to gain favor and ascend as gods during an epic clash between Greek and Norse mythology. The game plays over a 12 scenario campaign where players are going to be exploring different lands, completing quests, and interacting with the gods and impacting the outcome of the story and the raging war. For each scenario, you're going to be opening up a sealed box that contains things like scenario-specific quests, components, stickers, gods, and new mechanisms. And the app in this game is required, and it provides the narrative for the story, but you're also going to be using it to scan different components, and it's going to track the outcome of certain decisions, which will change the opportunities and the story presented to the players moving forward. Each turn, players are going to spend dice to explore new tiles to place on their demigod map following their placement rules. While they're doing this, players are going to be working towards an overall quest and their god's goals. The legacy aspect of this game comes with permanent changes to your demigods, their dice, and the map tiles that you're placing on your demigod board. These are all permanent because you're going to be using stickers to make all these changes. All these changes are going to make your copy of the game unique to your campaign, because once you complete the campaign, you're still going to be able to play it in the infinite replayability mode. This mode reuses components and mechanisms from the completed campaign to create new scenarios. Also on July 27th, we have Limbo Eternal War 1.5, and this plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 60 to 120 minutes to play. And this is a tactical skirmish game with army and deck construction elements. And at the start of the game, players are going to be choosing which characters they want to have as part of their army, and throughout the game they're going to be securing different objectives to score victory points in order to win. The game plays over a series of rounds, and each round has 3 phases, but there's mainly one phase that is the core of the game, and that is the activation phase. During this phase, you're going to be activating each of your units, and each of them can perform 2 actions. Actions can be things like moving, attacking, interacting with something on the map, or using a skill or an ability. As a part of their army, each player is going to have their own lord, and if their lord is lost, they are eliminated from the game. And if you're the last player standing, you win the game, but you're also going to be gaining victory points throughout the game, and hitting 50 victory points triggers the end of the game, and at the end of that round, the player with the most victory points is going to win the game. This was a game that was released previously, as the 1.5 implies, so there is going to be some new content here, and that's going to come in the form of a new expansion that's going to have some new lords, some new minis, and an improved rule set for the core game. This was the first and only design from this designer, but the game still got a really nice 8.4 on BoardGame Geek, and it's pretty common that first-time designs have a few issues with them, so this 1.5 version of the rule set is going to aim to fix a lot of those issues. Overall, people still seem to like the game for what it was, but a lot of the comments here are really praising the quality of the minis. So if you're a painter, or if you really like having extra minis around, definitely check this one out, because some of these comments claim to say that these are some of the best minis they've ever seen, which is really impressive for a first-time designer. And don't forget that I have links to all these campaigns in the description below. Also on the 27th, we have Road Trippin, and this is a word party game that plays 2 or more players, and in this game, players are going to be trying to get their friends to guess a phrase. During a round, you're going to draw a phrase from a deck, and then you're going to write your phrase on a license plate, but you're going to be limited to only using 7 characters. Players can gain additional points for using less characters or for using numbers. This is a team-based game, and your team is going to have a time limit in order to try and guess the phrase that you've spelled out on your license plate. You'll have to be careful when going for those extra points, because if you make your license plate too difficult to guess and your team isn't able to do it within the time limit, your opponent's team is going to have a chance to steal. For each point scored, you're going to be moving your team's car across a score tracker, and the team that reaches the finish line first wins the game. This campaign is also going to be offering an After Dark expansion that's going to include a ton of adult phrases for your team to go on some very scandalous excursions. Don't forget you can use the code SHELFCLUTTER to get a whopping 15% off your entire cart over at KickstarterGames.com. KickstarterGames.com offers a wide selection of games, and they are the sponsor of this channel, so if there's a game that you've been looking to buy and you want to get it for a good price, definitely check them out, and a small percentage will come back and help this channel. KickstarterGames.com is a family-run business, and I'm really happy to have them as a sponsor because I've just had nothing but a positive experience with working with them. They're also active in the community and put out some of their own content, and they also do a giveaway every month, and all you have to do to get entered into those is sign up to their newsletter on their website. Definitely check them out, and I hope that they can save you some cash. Also on the 27th, we have Zorro the Dice Game, the Stunts and Allies expansion, and this plays 2 to 6 players and takes about 15 to 30 minutes to play. And the original game allows players to perform heroic feats through a Yahtzee or King of Tokyo style dice rolling in order to earn more dice and eventually face off against a final villain. Players will all be competing to defeat that villain first in order to win the game. This expansion changes the game in a few ways because it introduces an ally to the game. You're going to be able to level up your ally, which provides your hero with some special abilities, and it also works as a little bit of a catch-up mechanic as well, so that players don't diverge too far throughout the game. Fully leveling up your ally is going to introduce a special die that you have to roll, but each ally also comes with their own weakness that you're going to have to mitigate as you fight scoundrels and villains and try to perform different heroic feats. Stunt tokens are also added, which offer you more decisions during your turn, since you're going to be able to use those to do things like switch your feats or re-roll certain dice. It's always nice to get a little bit more variety in your game, and this expansion is going to add that with more equipment, scoundrels, and villains to be explored. Also on the 27th, we have The Road, and this is a solo game that plays in about 30 to 45 minutes, and this is from a French publisher, so most of the content I've been finding out there has been in French, but I did find the original campaign, and the game was offered in Spanish, Italian, German, and English. And in this game, you're going to randomly pick a destination to reach, and your goal is to survive for the 6 days in order to reach that destination. Every day you're going to encounter some different road cards, and these road cards are going to have things like different locations, events, and obstacles for you to encounter. And each of these you're going to be able to decide if you want to cross through the location, bypass it, or find another way. Each choice has its own set of benefits and consequences. Like many survival games, you're going to be managing your condition, which comes in the form of health, energy, and morale, and if you can survive to the 6th day, you win the game. One thing to note about this game is that it is Kickstarter exclusive and it will never come to retail. If this sounds interesting to you, they do have a very solid how to play video that you can check out on their campaign page. And next on the 27th, we have Quotable, and this is a charade-style movie quote trivia party card game. And in this game, you draw a card and act out a movie quote or scene in your best impression, and players are going to have to guess movie facts to earn you points. This game uses scannable QR codes that link to YouTube so that the person who is acting out the scene can be familiar with it and take a look at what they are intending to do. You can also scan the back of the card to learn more about how to act out the quote if you need some helpful tips. Also on the 27th, we have Lumeria, War of the Gods, and this is an asymmetric battle card game where players are going to be taking on the roles of different gods, leading their followers to fight others on the field of battle. During the game, players will deploy and control different units of factions and mythical creatures, and you're going to be using a variety of different skills and actions in order to outthink your opponent. The game features fast pacing, limited randomness, and a ton of different factions and strategies to choose from. The game uses dice rolling, variable player powers, grid movement, and area control. And now we're getting into games launching on the 28th, and the first one we have is Feuding Foodies, and this is a 4 to 8 player game that takes about 30 to 75 minutes to play, and this is a team-based party game where players are racing to collect different ingredients in order to cook recipes and sabotage their opponents. Players pair up into groups of 2 and they get dealt a hand of cards, and then they're going to swap half their starting hand with their partner so that you have some knowledge of what your opponent has in their hand. So this game does have some memory elements as part of its mechanisms. And at the start of the game, you're also going to be flipping 3 recipe cards that players are going to be racing to complete. And on your turn, you're going to draw 1 card face up for everyone to see, and your partner is going to want to remember this along with your opponents. You're going to be adding this to your hand, and cards are dual purpose, which means that you can either use it for an instant benefit, or you can hang on to it as an ingredient to complete one of the recipes. If you choose to complete a recipe, you're going to have to stop, and you and your teammate must collectively have all the cards in order to complete that recipe. If you do have all the cards, you complete that recipe and gain its points, otherwise you get penalized. And the first team to get 12 victory points wins the game. And next on July 28th is Architects Works of Wonders, and this plays 1 to 5 players and takes about 60 to 80 minutes to play. And this is an expansion to the game Architects of the West Kingdom, where players are competing to impress their king and maintain their noble status by constructing various landmarks. To do this, players are going to be using drafting, variable player powers, and worker placement in order to collect different raw materials, hire apprentices, manage their workforce, and possibly partake in some nefarious deeds. But making these moral or immoral decisions will have an effect on your game because your goal is to achieve the most victory points, but players are judged at game end, and those that walked the dark path for just a little bit too far get punished. And this one is our Discord Pick of the Week, and it's not surprising because this does have a rank of 81 on BoardGame Geek, so it is in the top 100. And an interesting fact about this designer is that he's one of the very few designers with 3 games in the top 100 on BGG. I did play Raiders of the North Sea, and I was really surprised how much I did not like that game, so I never ended up trying these other 2 games that are in the top 100. But my understanding is that they do play quite a bit differently, and I can't really argue with 3 games in the top 100, so I really should circle back and give these ones a shot. This expansion introduces 5 new, very prestigious monuments, and in order to build these monuments, players are going to have to earn enough influence and reputation by completing different charitable tasks for the kingdom. The expansion also introduces an extension to the main board to hold the new contribution and consequence cards, and to keep track of the player's influence. If you also like to play solo, you'll be happy to hear that this does include an entirely new solo system, and it's going to include 6 different unique opponents for you to compete against. This publisher does not offer Kickstarter exclusives, which I can respect, but there will be some promos that may be harder to find later, but you should be able to get them on their website or at different conventions. If you're wondering if this will include all previous games in the series and their promos, I just have one of their previous campaigns pulled up here, and it looks like it's been pretty consistent on all their campaigns that they do offer a pledge to get everything from the previous campaigns. This campaign will also offer a playmat and something that people have been asking for a while, which is a big box solution. So if you're a fan of this game, or if it's caught your interest, I'll have links to this in the description below. Also on the 28th is The Lost Code, and this plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 60 minutes to play. And this is a deduction game where each player is going to be dealt 6 different colored tiles, each with a unique number on them for that color. Players don't get to see their own numbers, but you'll be able to see everyone else's because you'll be placing these on a stand for all the other players to see. Each turn, players are going to be making bets using the different dials on the board in order to guess their own numbers based on the cards that they've seen. Each turn in the game is going to give you a little bit more information as to what your numbers could be, and the game comes with some handy notepads so you can track this information to help you along the way. This game is a re-implementation of the game Think Straight, and most of the rules have gone essentially unchanged, but it is re-themed with this sort of Mayan theme, and obviously this theme just looks way better. But if you have played Think Straight before, you'll already know whether or not you like this game. I haven't heard about that game before, but reading about it now does pique my interest because it does seem sort of like a competitive version of Letter Jam, which is a game that I am a fan of. So if you have played Letter Jam, but you would rather have a competitive version of that game, I think that could be also a good reference point. And now on July 29th, we have Deckchairs on the Titanic, and this plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 15 to 30 minutes to play. And in this game, players are deck chair attendants, and your goal is to get tips from different passengers by getting their chairs in the best places. Passengers pay even more for their favorite locations, so you'll be competing with the other players for the best spots. And the game has you placing and manipulating different deck chairs either directly or through the use of an ice chunk that just happened to fall on the ship for some reason. Don't worry about that, the Titanic's unsinkable. In each round, you're going to be taking 3 or 4 actions depending on the player count, and you're going to be using these actions to do different things like moving one chair one space orthogonally, or pushing the ice block in a straight line to knock chairs in any direction. Or you can place an attendant on the board to reserve a space, and at the end of the round, the ship's movement will shift all empty chairs 1 space, and players' deck chairs are scored based on the scoring spaces that they manage to occupy. The game ends after a fixed number of rounds, and the player with the most points at the end of the game wins the game. And now on July 30th, we have Not Enough Mana, and this plays 3 to 6 players and takes about 1 to 2 hours to play. And a neat fact about this game is that it's from the same team that brought you the video game Superhot. Superhot's a pretty famous action fighting game where time moves only when you move. It's a game that I've played and loved, and it's definitely unique in the gameplay that it offers, and I definitely recommend checking it out. And this team seems like a pretty cool bunch, so if you want to check it out, make sure to stay tuned for next week's episode because they're offering up a ton of non-region specific Steam keys that will be given away. So make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on that giveaway. And I also really love what the team did here with their video and all the images and media that they're providing to advertise this game. It's all top quality, and I think that attention to detail and care will be reflected in the game. And you may or may not be surprised to know that this is a drinking game where you'll be destroying the other players by using epic spells, curses, and artifacts, all while replenishing your mana by drinking a magical potion likely to have a certain magical molecule. Your goal is to eliminate all other wizards from the game, and players are going to be drawing a hand of 5 cards at the start of the game, and then you're going to be taking turns spending your mana to cast spells and do things like cause damage, restore health, force opponents to discard their cards, or defend yourself against attacks. Different event cards can also add some chaotic elements to the games with rule changes and global effects. The catch with this game is that you can refill your mana by 2 points at any point by drinking your magical potion, and I don't think there's an in-game limit to how many potions you can drink. So players are eliminated either when their health reaches 0 or when they're otherwise unable to play due to drinking too much mana. I don't really own any drinking games other than maybe a deck of cards to play kings. Covering all the games that I do, I've seen a lot of them, but most of them don't really have the style or gameplay or team that really gets me excited. This one's hitting on all of those with an established team that's created a game that I've liked in the past, that also had a style and humor that I really enjoyed, so I expect that I'll also like it here. Once again, links in the description, and for all these campaigns, don't forget that you can click to get notified, which I always like to do for games I'm interested in, just in case there is some sort of early bird. And that's it for this week, but don't leave yet because we do have a few awesome giveaways to announce, and the first one is going to be for Beyond the Rift, a Perdition's Mouth card game. And this is a fully cooperative adventure card game where players have their own deck of unique starting cards, and you're going to be evolving that deck over a 5-scenario campaign that tells the story of one of the playable characters in the game. Each character offers a very different playstyle, and scenarios offer many branching paths, allowing for different circumstances and opportunities for players to synergize to their strengths. And drawing from their hero deck will present different actions that they can perform, which of course cost action points, which can then be used to draw more cards, manipulate the position of enemies, and activate special abilities depending on the cards played. So it's really cool how much is going on with this game with just a deck of cards, but another really cool aspect of this game is that players can also find different items that can be equipped to different body parts on their character, and equipping these items will add new cards to your deck and remove cards from your deck if you already had an item equipped on that body part. Although the campaign is just 5 scenarios, there is a campaign for each playable character, which means that you can multiply those 5 scenarios by the number of characters in the game. And this giveaway is going to be for the Beyond the Rift pledge, which comes with the core game. And to enter this giveaway, I'm going to be a little self-serving here and send you on your own adventure. All you have to do is head over to the special bonus video that I just uploaded a couple days ago. And all you have to do is leave a comment letting me know which of my games is your favorite, or suggest a game that you think would fit well into my collection. This pledge is offered worldwide, so I don't need to add any hashtag to filter it from the other comments. So all you have to do is leave a comment on that video, and that will get you entered into the giveaway. And the next giveaway we have is for Ryder, and this is a low-luck medieval strategy card game with memory elements, where players are each dealt a hand of 4 cards at the start of the game, and there are a few different cards that players can have. Players can look at their own cards, but they must always be kept in the same order on the table in front of them. And on a player's turn, they can use one action and then optionally use their legendary ability. All players' cards will be put face down, so remembering which cards are which is important, as players can put a card next to an opponent's card to reveal both of them, and compare the attack and defense to resolve a battle. Some cards can also be played to the center of the table, which can cause different effects to multiple players or to the entire game. Players can also mix in trigger cards as trapped that get triggered if another player challenges that card. When a player wins a battle, they take that opponent's cards, and the game continues until only one player is left with cards in the field. The player with the most cards earned at the end of the game wins the game. And this giveaway is going to be for the VIP pledge, which comes with the core game, and VIP member status, which comes with priority shipping, lifetime VIP pricing on all expansions, and special mentions on their website. And to enter this giveaway, just leave a comment down below with the hashtag Ryder, and I'm interested to know a time in your life where you felt like VIP. For myself, outside of board games, I've done a lot of other crazy stuff, but I guess the times that were the most notable is when I used to play a lot of music in some different bands. I used to be a much more quiet guy than I am today, so it was pretty cool when people that knew me would see me up on stage singing and playing guitar and setting the whole mood of the joint, and I'm being blown away with the whole performance. It kind of makes me sad that I don't really play much anymore, but I hope to have a music room again in the future. And the last giveaway we have is for Milhouette, and this is a party game where players tell each other's fortunes by using 3 cards. 1 card is drawn by the person who will have their fortune told, while 2 cards are drawn for all the other players. Players are going to create a fortune based on these 3 cards, and the person getting their fortune told is going to decide which one resonated with them the most, and that fortune teller scores a point. Players are going to alternate their roles so that every player gets an opportunity to have their fortune told, and the player with the most points wins the game. One thing I forgot to mention is that each of these cards depict some different silhouettes that players are going to have to use in those foretellings. And this giveaway is going to be for the Milhouette core game pledge. And to enter this giveaway, just leave a comment down below, and I'm going to ask for a hashtag that's a little bit easier to spell rather than Milhouette or silhouette. So just leave the hashtag shadow, and let me know what your go-to shadow puppet is. As a Canadian, the one that's always stuck with me is the moose. And we had a ton of giveaways last week, and they were all offered on the Discord to celebrate hitting over 1,000 members over on the Discord. It's really the best place to go if you want to discuss and see all the upcoming info for all the upcoming campaigns that we know about into the future. I highly recommend checking out that Discord. I am a programmer, so I've automated a lot of the info, making it a really great experience. And if you didn't enter those giveaways from last week, there still might be some time to enter them if you're seeing this video early enough. For those of you that did enter those giveaways, make sure to check your notifications because a winner is automatically drawn and notified. And those giveaways were for Ice Floes and Foes, Bantam West, I'm Right, You're Wrong, Rat Queens, and Prise De Fer. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate the support and I hope that this video was useful. Until next time, keep that shelf cluttered and the table full.